Alright, episode 2 of Moon Knight. Keeks here, and if you haven't seen my episode 1 breakdown, you can click up here. But for now, we're going to be talking about episode 2 and everything that happened in this episode. So that is also going to serve as a spoiler warning for anyone that has not yet seen episode 2 of Moon Knight. Starting off, Steven is definitely having a bit of a hard time here. He's not really sure if what he is experiencing is real or not, or if it's all in his head. When he looks at the security footage, it looks like he's a madman running away from nothing because nobody else can see the jackal. And it's interesting, it doesn't even appear on the security footage that there's a jackal there at all. The jackal is actually there. It can interact with the surroundings and it can break things and hit people. We see it hit Layla in one scene, so it's definitely there. And when she throws something at it, it gets hit too. So, I mean, I understand it's from the dimension of the gods, so maybe you do need some sort of celestial vision to end up seeing it, but it's just interesting to me that it's basically just invisible. I wonder if there is technology out there, like if it looked for infrared or something, that we could see the jackal through. Steven goes to Mark's locker and finds all of this stuff and ends up finding the beetle. He also gets to talk to Mark, actually, and Mark doesn't say a lot because Steven's not really having it at this point, but he does mention that he is the avatar of Khonshu, and he needs to take control sometimes to save them. It's funny because both of them, Mark and Steven, have a hero complex, if you think about it. They both do not want other people to get hurt, but Steven thinks that he's the danger, and that's why he's trying to turn himself in. He also stops showing Layla the beetle as soon as Mark says that that's going to get her killed or put her at least in harm's way. And he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to put innocent people in danger, so he stops. He also eventually lets Mark take control, and when he sees that he's fighting the jackal, he's not really winning, though he does have a good punch in there. He knows that he needs to let Mark take over because Mark is the guy with all of the fighting skills and, more importantly, all of the experience being Moon Knight. Once he does that, though, Mark is in control and tells Steven that the person in the body is actually stronger now for some reason, and something has changed and Steven can no longer effortlessly keep him out. I think it probably has something to do with Steven just being generally confused now. He's unsure of who he is or what's going on, so suppressing Mark is really hard when he doesn't have a solid grasp of reality anymore. Mark also said that he's been riding back seat for a long time now, though really it couldn't be more than a couple months, I don't think, because when Steven picks up the phone, he talks to Layla and she's like, I haven't seen you in months, what's happened? I haven't heard from you. And I'm pretty sure he's not been Moon Knight for longer than a year for sure. So, I mean, I guess what's long is relative, but I don't think it's been more than a few months that he's actually been Moon Knight for. One of the biggest reveals in this episode was that Arthur Harrow used to be the avatar of Khonshu, and he has since left Khonshu and replaced him being now the avatar of Amut, and that's the crazy crocodile head god. Khonshu mentions that when he found Mark, he was just a corpse though, so I wonder if Khonshu only brings people back from the dead to be his avatars, or if they can actually be alive and be his avatar still. I would assume not though, since Arthur is still alive, and I assume when he kicked Khonshu out of his body, he went to search for Amut to gain some power again, and if he was just a corpse, he probably could not have done that. Though I guess it is plausible that another scenario could be that Arthur went and searched out Amut while Khonshu was still in his body, and then he made some kind of bargain to kick Khonshu out of his body and replace him with Amut. And I think that that actually might be more along the lines because he says to Steven that Khonshu constantly promises that this is going to be the last mission and there's only just one more mission. So it appears that Khonshu never actually releases its host, Avatar, and I assume that's why Arthur had to find a way out. So it doesn't really say how long he was the Avatar of Khonshu, but I'm assuming it's a long time and long enough for him to figure out that he needed to get out of that situation. Speaking of which, Mark also said that he wants Khonshu out of his body, and he wants to do one last mission and then be done with it, but I think that would just leave him as a corpse again if Khonshu left him. I don't think he gains a new life. I think he's literally being held alive by Khonshu. Khonshu also mentions that if he's not the Avatar, then he's going to go after Layla, which I also don't think Marc would let happen, so I really do not see him giving up these powers anytime soon, even though he wants to. I don't know why Khonshu / Marc never actually took over the body again when they were in danger from Arthur's people. I mean, they showed in episode 1 that, you know, if they're in enough danger, then Khonshu will take over, even if it is just for briefly. I imagine it takes a lot of power to do that, and maybe that's the reasoning that they didn't do it now. They didn't want to waste the power. They were never in quite a dire enough situation, I guess, but I'm not sure if there's another reason for them not just forcing them to take over the body, because Arthur says at the beginning too, he's like, just ignore him. Khonshu can't actually do anything to you, but I swear in episode 1 they proved that Khonshu could put Marc in the passenger or in the driver's seat, but I guess maybe not. Maybe it's Marc has to want it enough. Khonshu himself cannot actually do anything. The last thing I noticed is that Steven says his favorite poet is the same one that Layla's is, and he also now speaks French. So I think that when the Steven persona was created, Marc actually gave him some of his traits as well as some from his wife. I think that Marc may have given Steven his intellect too. I think that Marc gets a lot of his information and knowledge from Khonshu, but actual historical knowledge resides with Steven. Like, he can speak different languages, he knows all about the history, and I think that's going to be Steven's biggest contribution to the partnership between Marc and Steven. I think Steven's going to be the one that is doing all the Brainiac stuff and really doing a lot of the thinking and puzzling things out and putting things together. His suit was an actual suit, and I think this points him to being the detective type character, so when he's in control, then he is going to be puzzling things out, putting clues together, solving things, and I think that's how you're going to differentiate who's in the suit. Other than, I guess, how they speak, but when he's in the actual suit, it's going to be Steven, and when he's in the Moon Knight fighting suit, it's going to be Marc. So now they're in Egypt, and are somehow going to find the tomb before Arthur does. Should be tough, but I think they can probably do it, especially if Steven starts to use his brain and put all the clues together for himself. Obviously, they don't have the compass. I do think Layla is going to show up in the next episode somewhere in Egypt, so I would not be surprised to see her. But let me know, did you see the episode? What'd you think of it? And I'm Keegs. I hope to catch you all for my breakdown of episode 3 next week.